Welcome to the Okie Woodsman channel. Today I am sharing 10 things you need to know about handmade heritage style boots. While today's video is sponsored by Drew's Boots, this is not specific to only Drew's Boots. Tip number one, the sizing can and likely will be drastically different from anything you have ever experienced. This is my personal pair of 8-inch loggers from Drew's Boots. I typically wear somewhere around a 9.5 to a 10 standard width in most types of shoes. These are 8.5Ds. At first, they felt like a very snug fit. However, as I wore them and as the leather stretched, they got looser. When I ordered these boots, they took foot tracings and sized my foot appropriately according to their boot lasts. This is an example of a non-heritage style boot. This old Chippewa boot is a 9.5D. These used to be made in the United States. And just for clarification, this is not a heritage style boot. It is important to note when you have a good quality heritage style boot like this, they are not incredibly comfortable from the moment you put them on. They are stiff and they require breaking in. That's because of the style of construction and the amount of natural materials in the boots. These boots have extremely thick leather for long life and the ability to be rebuilt due to the quality of the materials and the construction type. But do not worry, they will quickly become the most comfortable pair of footwear you've ever had. That's my experience. The next thing that differentiates the best pair of boots from everything you've ever had in the past is that they tend to have more natural materials, and in the case of these Drew's boots, they're almost exclusively natural with the exception of the soles. In the past, I made a living in my work boots. These boots were with me out in the field, climbing poles, digging holes, walking miles a day. These only have, I'd say, about a year's worth of work on them. And I also did rotate between these and some pull-ons throughout the day, depending upon how the day was going. From experience, I knew that this was coming. This right here is characteristic of boots with insoles. Of course, you can buy new insoles for these things. Oftentimes, when you're looking at other types of boots, other than a heritage style boot, you will find that they have all sorts of liners. Fabric and foam in here, much like is on the tongue. I didn't want that. That always seemed to get ripped up and become a nuisance, and I felt like I needed to get boots before they were truly worn out. These style of boots omit foam and fabric, not to omit materials, but rather to make them more long-lasting and more durable and comfortable in the long run. Let me show you what I'm talking about here. These boots actually do not disassemble like these. I can't take out the insole because it's a part of the actual boot. Inside of this boot, you are standing on leather, thick leather. You got veg tanned leather making up the outsole, leather inside, and zero foam and fabric in here. That's the type of boot that will last you a long time. If you notice in their logo, Drew's Boots says that they've been around since 1918. Again, this is not a Drew's Boot specific video. Yes, it is sponsored by them, but there's numerous brands of Pacific Northwest style heritage boots out there, and this is applicable to all of them. I believe that there is an advantage to the Drew's Boots and one big factor for many of you, and we'll talk about that in a minute. I always hated this. Boots like this could potentially be a bit more comfortable initially, but I found that they quickly became uncomfortable with time. Comment below if you've also experienced that sort of thing as well. The next thing you need to know is that these are long-term boots. When you buy them, they are an investment. They can be rebuilt, and once you break them in, you won't want to get a new pair of boots. And when I say investment, the next thing you need to know is that they typically are very expensive. When I was working outside in the utilities, I didn't want to spend more than really $250 to $300 on a pair of boots. At that time, I was a little bit skinnier, a little lighter. My boots would last 2 to 3 years. And then I'd throw them away and buy another pair. By the end of that, my feet would be hurting and the boot would truly be coming apart. I mentioned that they're an investment and that they're expensive, and that Drew's had an advantage over many of the other manufacturers. These two pairs of Drew's boots that you see in this video are both handmade in Mexico. That brings down the price to a much more affordable level for people like you and me. If you'd like to support only US manufacturing and boot production, Drew's Boots has got you covered there as well, along with other great names like Nick's, White's, Westco, JK, and all the rest. Just to be clear, Drew's can play in that playground as well. They do offer boots manufactured in the United States. Something for you to think about. If it's important to you to only buy boots handmade in the United States that are long lasting, you can totally do it with Drew's. Something to think about. Share below what your choice would be. The next thing you need to know is that when you pull a pair of boots out of the box like these, they're heavy. Let's compare them to a couple different pairs of boots here. We're gonna go ahead and weigh only my boots, so we're gonna exclude these. I'm also gonna go ahead and include another pair of leather boots that have more leather in them than you'd typically see. These are more representative of a pair of tennis shoes, but just so we can compare, I'm bringing these in as well. For the lightweight pair of mock toes, let's take a look. We have 1 pound, 0.3 ounces. So this single boot is only 1 pound and less than an ounce. Let's go ahead and take a look at my old Chippewa boots. 2 pounds, 3.9 ounces. And I believe these are going to be the heaviest. £3, 3.1 ounces. When you first pull them out of the box, you notice it. That may be a complete turnoff to some of you, but I can tell you that once you wear them, I don't really ever think about it. When I do put on a pair of tennis shoes, like athletic shoes or something like that, I do notice that they're extremely lightweight. But again, when I'm wearing these, I don't feel like the weight is a big deal. Another thing that you must realize is that if you're going to invest in a pair of boots like these, they're going to require some maintenance if you want to get the most out of them. And when I say get the most out of them, I'm talking about getting the most value out of them. Leather really appreciates being taken care of. Being work boots, you're going to get them wet, you're going to get them dirty, but you must clean them here and there and keep them conditioned. I'll be doing a video on that shortly, and I have to admit, I have not been the best at doing that in the past. The next tip is about options and sizing available. I had mentioned that as I was ordering these boots, they took tracings of my feet and recommended a size. What that enables them to do is offer you a boot that's going to fit your foot perfectly. And if need be, you can get custom sizes. Let's say that you have a foot that is significantly different than the other. Handmade boots like this can facilitate that sort of thing. Another thing that's common is them having different options in finishes. Okay, so this was a brown smooth finish on this boot. This is a rough out finish. And if you take a look on the inside, it's actually the smooth on the inside. Boots of this caliber can oftentimes be had with smooth out, rough out, or different combinations. And something that I also want to address right here, these boots also came with these kilties. And at the time, I thought they were just for looks, and I removed them. I have come to find that this component is not just for looks. This component is important to the protection of your foot. You'll see that on a boot like this, it's not gusseted all the way to the top. This one goes higher than many do, But these have leather sewn all the way to the top. So things like seeds, grass seed, sticks, sawdust, saw chips, and all of that don't make your way inside your boot. These keep your socks extremely clean at the end of the day. That's been my experience. These less so. But in order to have this fully gusseted setup here, this leather is a bit thinner. And you'll notice that it's creased up and curled like crazy. So this is part of the break-in process. When you first put a pair of boots like these on, you wonder, what in the heck am I going to do with all this extra leather? It kind of feels like it bunches up and builds up. Well, even this kiltie, take a look. This thing has found its home right here. It always fits right in that location. You can see that it has essentially made a home. When I tighten up my boot laces, that's where it is. Guess what? I don't feel any of those creases anymore. This boot is well on its way to being broken in. I would say it's pretty darn close, and I will also say that I'm enjoying wearing it. Now these boots here, I've kind of alluded that these are not mine. This boot is a men's size 5D. I gotta say, I'm a little bit jealous because I like this boot with the 10-inch versus my 8-inch. These are for my wife. The next tip is that these types of boots offer phenomenal support. If you've ever worn a pair of ski boots or snowboard boots or something like that, when you first put these on and you tighten them up, you feel as if your ankles are not going to bend ever again. They almost feel, well, they feel incredibly stiff. But what happens is as you break them in, they do start to bend. But the reality is your ankles feel incredibly supported. I feel much more comfortable walking around on firewood or a stack of logs or on my property with these rocks and these hills wearing a pair of boots like this laced up. In fact, the only reason why they're off my feet right now is because I'm doing this video. As soon as I'm done with this video, and I am going to do a video on these boots, I'm putting my 8-inch loggers back on my feet. And the last tip is this. In my opinion, I've put together this entire list of important things that you must understand in order to be happy with these boots. If you think that you're going to buy them, put them on your feet, and they're going to feel like your Nikes on day one, hour one, you're going to be disappointed. If you think that they're going to be lightweight, like your high-tech, fully synthetic work boots, you're going to be disappointed. If you think they're going to be cheap and you're going to get a long-lasting rebuildable boot, you're going to be disappointed. All that to say is that if you fully understand this list that I'm giving you, with that understanding and that acceptance, you'll be on your way to wearing the most durable, extremely comfortable boot. You will love your purchase. Share in the comments section below what your thoughts are. If I missed anything, if you're new here, we do all sorts of projects. I don't just do product reviews. Not every video I do is sponsored, but I want to take time to highlight the products that I like and the companies that have helped me out on this channel. Make sure you go ahead and hit that thumbs up button, subscribe, let me know you're here, and I'll see you on the next one.